It is who you really are when you recognize your true identity as God's own imagination pushed out into this world. Everything I share tonight comes from my own experience and deep understanding of the law that governs all being. Let us begin with the first mistake. And I ask you to listen not just with your physical ears, but with your spiritual understanding. For what I'm about to share transcends mere intellectual comprehension. Mistake number 1, living from memory instead of imagination. The first and perhaps most devastating mistake that kills your confidence is living from memory rather than imagination. You see, my dear friends, memory is dead imagination. It is the shadow of past experiences that you continue to give life to through your attention and will. Many of you sit here tonight bound by the chains of your past experiences. Every morning you wake up and immediately recall past failures, past embarrassments, past rejections. You replay these memories like a worn-out record. And in doing so, you deny the very power that God gave you, the power of imagination. Let me share with you a story that perfectly illustrates this principle. A dear friend of mine in Barbados, a man who once could barely speak in public due to paralyzing fear, discovered this profound truth. He had lived his entire life from memory, allowing each past failure to define his present moment. Every time he stood before an audience, his mind would flood with memories of past embarrassments, past stutters, past moments of anxiety. But one day, through the application of this law I'm sharing with you tonight, he made a revolutionary discovery. He realized that his memories had no power over his present moment unless he gave them that power. He began to live from imagination instead of memory. Every night before sleep, he would imagine himself speaking with complete confidence and authority. He would feel the satisfaction of expressing himself freely, feel the joy of connecting with others without fear. He would imagine the warmth of applause, the smiles of appreciation, the feeling of absolute mastery over his communication. And I tell you tonight with absolute certainty that within weeks, his entire world transformed. Why? Because he chose to live from imagination rather than memory. He understood that imagination is God's gift to man. It is the very essence of reality, while memory is but a shadow of what once was. You see, when you live from memory, you are denying the creative power that is your birthright. You are choosing to be bound by what was rather than embracing what could be. This is the first and most fundamental mistake that kills your confidence. Mistake number 2, misunderstanding the true nature of confidence. Now let us move to the second critical mistake, one that keeps countless souls trapped in limitation, misunderstanding the true nature of confidence. This mistake is so prevalent that it has become accepted as truth in our modern world. You believe confidence is something to be achieved, something to be gained through external accomplishments. You think, when I get that promotion, then I'll be confident. When I lose extra pounds, then I'll feel worthy. When I achieve this goal, then I'll stand tall. My dear friends, this is a complete misunderstanding of the nature of confidence. Confidence is not something you get. It is something you allow. It is your natural state when you recognize who you really are. You are God's own imagination pushed out into this world. How can the imagination of God lack confidence? It is impossible. Let me share with you a profound experience that was shared with me by a young lady in New York. She had accomplished everything society told her would bring confidence: multiple degrees, a prestigious career, financial success, social recognition. Yet she felt hollow inside, constantly seeking the next achievement that would finally make her feel confident. One day she came to me in tears, asking why, despite all her accomplishments, she still felt insecure. I shared with her what I'm sharing with you tonight, that she was seeking confidence from the outside in when it can only flow from the inside out. I taught her to realize that confidence is not the result of what you do. Rather, what you do is the result of the state of consciousness you occupy. When she began to live from this truth, her entire world transformed. Not because she achieved more, but because she finally recognized who she really was. Mistake number 3, rejecting your present self. The third mistake, and this is crucial to understand, is the continuous rejection of your present self. This mistake is particularly insidious because it often masquerades as self-improvement or spiritual seeking. Many of you sit here tonight in a state of constant self-rejection, always pushing your acceptance of self into some imagined future. You tell yourself, I will accept myself when I will feel confident when, but I tell you, this is a fundamental denial of your divine nature. Remember the words from Scripture. I am that I am. Not I will be, or I was, but I am. This is the name of God. And it is your name too. For you are one with God. When you reject your present self, you reject the I am within you. I recall a gentleman who came to me in Los Angeles, completely defeated by this very mistake. He had spent years rejecting his present self, always living for some future moment when he would finally feel worthy of confidence. His life was a constant postponement of self-acceptance. I shared with him a principle that transformed his life. The only time you can accept yourself is now. The only time you can feel confident is now. The only time you can recognize your divine nature is now. He began to practice this truth. And within months, his entire life transformed. Not because he became someone different, but because he finally accepted who he already was. Mistake number 4, misusing your inner dialogue. Let us move to the 4th mistake, which is perhaps the most pervasive of all. The misuse of your inner dialogue. Your inner conversation, my dear friends, is your destiny externalized. Every moment of every day you are carrying on a conversation with yourself, and this conversation is creating your world. Most of you are engaged in constant self-defeating inner dialogue. You wake up and your first thought is, I'm not ready for this day. You face a challenge and immediately think, I can't handle this. You meet someone successful and think, I'm not at their level. These inner conversations are not mere thoughts, they are prayers, and they are always answered. Your inner dialogue is the spirit moving upon the face of the waters of your consciousness, creating your world. Let me share with you a principle that has transformed countless lives. Your inner dialogue is not just other mental chatter. It is the very substance from which your world is formed. When you change your inner dialogue, you change your world. I knew a man in New York who transformed his entire life by simply changing his inner conversation. Instead of his habitual I can't, he began to live from I am. Instead of I'm not good enough, he lived from I am more than enough. He persisted in this new inner dialogue until it became natural and his outer world rearranged itself to match his new inner conversation. Mistake number 5, seeking permission to be confident. The 5th mistake that many of you are making is seeking permission to be confident. This mistake stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of your true nature and your relationship with the world around you. You look to others for validation, for permission to stand in your own power. You seek approval from friends, family, colleagues, even strangers, before allowing yourself to feel confident. This, my dear friends, is a complete denial of your divine nature. You need no one's permission to be who you are. You need no one's approval to stand in your power. The very fact that you can imagine being confident means that confidence is your natural state. For how can you imagine what you are not capable of being? I remember a young teacher who came to me, constantly seeking approval from her colleagues, her principal, her students' parents. She lived in a constant state of seeking permission to be confident in her role. I shared with her this truth. The only permission she needed was her own. I told her to imagine herself as the confident teacher she wished to be. Not to seek it, not to ask for it, but to assume it, to live from it. And as she began to live from this assumption, her entire classroom transformed. Why? Because she stopped seeking permission and started giving herself permission to be who she really was. Mistake number 6, confusing confidence with arrogance. Now let us address the 6th mistake, one that keeps many spiritual seekers trapped in limitation, the confusion between confidence and arrogance. This misconception has caused countless souls to deny their divine confidence for fear of appearing arrogant. True confidence, my dear friends, is the most natural and humble state of being. It is simply the recognition of who you really are, God's own imagination pushed out into this world. Arrogance, on the other hand, comes from ego and insecurity. When you are truly confident, you have no need to prove anything to anyone. You have no need to compete, to compare, to belittle others to feel better about yourself. True confidence is as natural as breathing, as humble as a flower blooming in the garden. I knew a businessman who struggled with this very issue. He feared that by fully embracing his confidence, he would become one of those arrogant executives he despised. But as he began to understand this law, he realized that true confidence had nothing to do with superiority and everything to do with authenticity. He learned to live from the state of natural confidence, and his entire business transformed. His relationships improved, his decisions became more effective, and most importantly, he found a peace he had never known before. Mistake number 7, living in the future instead of the now. The 7th mistake is one that plagues nearly everyone in this room, living in the future instead of the now. This mistake is particularly deceptive because it often masquerades as goal setting or ambition. You think, I'll be confident when I achieve this goal, or I'll feel worthy when I reach that milestone. But I tell you tonight, there's a complete denial of the power that is yours no. The only time you can be confident is no. The only time you can feel worthy is no. The only time you can exercise your imagination is now, though. When you push confidence into the future, you push it out of your experience entirely. Remember the words of Scripture before Abraham was, I am. Not I will be, but I am. This is the eternal no-do in which all power exists. When you live in the future, you deny yourself access to this power. I recall a young actor who came to me, always pushing his confidence into some future moment. When I get this role, he would say, then I'll feel confident. I taught him what I'm teaching you now, to live from the end, to imagine the feeling of being confident now, regardless of external circumstances. As he began to live from this truth, his entire career transformed. Not because he became someone different in the future, but because he chose to be confident in now. Mistake 8, denying your divine nature. And now we come to the 8th and final mistake, the one that underlies all others, the denial of your divine nature. This mistake is the root cause of all lack of confidence, all feelings of unworthiness, all self-doubt. You see, my dear friends, you are not merely human beings seeking a spiritual experience. You are spiritual beings having a human experience. When you deny your divine nature, you deny the very source of all confidence. Every time you say, I can't, you deny your divine nature. Every time you shrink from a challenge, you deny your divine nature. Every time you seek confidence outside yourself, you deny your divine nature. I want to share with you a profound truth that was revealed to me through years of studying Scripture and testing this law. Your imagination is God operating in you. Therefore, when you imagine yourself as confident, you are not engaging in mere positive thinking. You are aligning with your true nature. The solution, living from the end. Now that we have identified these 8 mistakes, what is the solution? The solution, my dear friends, is to live from the end. To imagine the feeling of being confident now, regardless of external circumstances. Every night before you sleep, imagine yourself as the confident being you wish to be. Feel it as real. Feel the satisfaction of expressing yourself freely. Feel the joy of standing in your power. Feel the peace that comes from knowing who you really are. This is not mere visualization or positive thinking. This is the actual substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. When you imagine with feeling, you are creating reality, the practice of the law. Let me give you a practical application of this law. Tonight, when you go to bed, imagine a scene that implies you are now the confident person you wish to be. Make it a short, simple scene that you can repeat easily. Perhaps it's someone congratulating you on your confidence. Perhaps it's you feeling completely at ease in a situation that used to cause anxiety. Whatever scene you choose, ensure it implies that you are now confident. Repeat this scene until it feels natural, until it feels more real than your current circumstances. Fall asleep in this feeling. For in sleep, your subconscious mind accepts as real what you have impressed upon it. The promise of transformation. I promise you, if you will apply this law, if you will persist in living from the end, your world will transform. For this is not mere positive thinking or psychology. This is the law by which worlds are created. Remember, confidence is not something you get. It is something you allow. It is your natural state when you recognize who you really are. You are God's own imagination pushed out into this world. How can the imagination of God lack confidence? The living proof. Let me share with you one final story that perfectly illustrates this principle. A young woman came to me several years ago, completely lacking in confidence. She had tried everything, self-help books, therapy, workshops, but nothing had worked. I shared with her what I'm sharing with you tonight. I taught her to live from the end, to imagine herself as the confident being she wished to be. Every night before sleep, she would imagine scenes implying she was now confident and self-assured. At first it felt mechanical, even false. But she persisted. Night after night she would fall asleep feeling the satisfaction of being confident. And gradually something remarkable began to happen. Her world began to reshape itself to match her assumption. Opportunities appeared that allowed her to express her newfound confidence. People began to respond to her differently. She found herself speaking up in meetings, sharing her ideas freely, connecting with others effortlessly. Not because she had become someone different, but because she had finally recognized who she really was. The final understanding. My dear friends, I have shared with you tonight the 8 mistakes that are killing your confidence, but more importantly, I have shared with you the solution. The solution is not in doing, but in being. Not in achieving, but in assuming. Not in becoming, but in recognizing who you already are. Test this law. Apply what I have shared with you tonight. Imagine yourself as the confident being you wish to be. Feel it as real. Live from that assumption. For I tell you with absolute certainty, what you imagine with feeling while in a state into sleep must objectify itself in your world. The promise fulfilled. Let me conclude with this final thought. The transformation you seek is not in the future. It is in your imagination and NOR. The confidence you desire is not something to be achieved. It is something to be assumed now. Remember, you are not working towards confidence. You are working from confidence. You are not trying to become confident. You are acknowledging the confidence that is already yours by divine right. Go forth tonight and apply this law. Leave from the assumption of being confident nowadays. For I tell you truly, the world has no choice but to reshape itself to match your assumption. This is the law, and the law never fails. The world is yourself pushed out. Therefore, as you assume the feeling of confidence, the world must reflect back to you that same confidence. This is not magic or mysticism. This is the law by which all things are created. Remember, my dear friends, that every moment of every day, you are either living from memory or living from imagination. Choose imagination. Choose to live from the end. Choose to recognize your divine nature. For in doing so, you will discover that the confidence you seek has been within you all along, waiting only for your recognition and acceptance. Thank you, and good night. This secret is encapsulated in 5 powerful words. Be silent anything that you watch them happen. Now you might be wondering, what does it mean to be silent? And how can silence possibly bring about the manifestation of our deepest desires? My dear friends, the silence I speak of is not merely the absence of sound, but a state of being, a profound inner quietude that allows the creative power within you to work its magic. In this silence, you will find the birthplace of all creation. It is the womb of the universe, the void from which all things emerge. When you learn to cultivate this silence, to nurture it within yourself, you tap into the very source of all that is, was, and ever will be. But let me be clear, this is not a passive silence. It is not a state of inaction or resignation. No, the silence I speak of is alive, vibrant, and pulsing with creative energy. It is a silence filled with the certainty of your desire fulfilled. A silence pregnant with possibility. Imagine, if you will, a seed planted in the earth. Does it make a sound as it grows? Does it announce its intentions to the world? No, it grows in silence, pushing through the soil, reaching for the sun, all without a whisper. And yet in that silence, a miracle unfolds. From a tiny seed emerges a mighty oak, a beautiful flower, or a bountiful fruit tree. Your desires, my friends, are like that seed. They do not need to be shouted from the rooftops or constantly verbalized. In fact, the more you speak of them, the more you rob them their power. Instead, plant them in the fertile soil of your imagination, water them with the certainty of their fulfillment, and then be silent. Allow them to grow in the secret, sacred space of your inner world. This silence is not about suppressing your desires or denying their existence. On the contrary, it's about giving them the space and energy they need to manifest. When you constantly speak about what you want, when you continually focus on the lack of it in your life, you're essentially telling the universe, this is what I don't have. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, continues to reflect that lack back to you. But when you plant your desire in silence, when you nurture it in the quiet certainty of its fulfillment, you're sending a different message. You're saying to the universe, this is already mine. It is done. And the universe has no choice but to conform to this new reality you've created within yourself. Let me share with you a story that illustrates this principle. There was once a man who desperately wanted a promotion at work. He talked about it constantly, telling anyone who'd listen about how much he deserved it, how hard he had worked, and how unfair it was that he hadn't received it yet. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and still the promotion eluded him. Then one day he heard these very words we're discussing today. He decided to try a different approach. He stopped talking about the promotion altogether. Instead, he went into the silence of his imagination. There he saw himself sitting in the new office, felt the pride and satisfaction of his new position, heard the congratulations of his colleagues. He lived from the end, experiencing the fulfillment of his desire as a present fact. In his outer world, he continued to work diligently, but he no longer spoke of the promotion. He no longer complained about not having it. He simply knew in the depths of his being that it was already his. And do you know what happened? Within a month, he was called into his boss's office and offered the very position he had been imagining. This, my friends, is the power of silence. It is the power of living from the end, of experiencing your desire fulfilled in the inner world of imagination. For when you do this, when you truly embody the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the outer world has no choice but to reshape itself to match your intent. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, isn't this just positive thinking? Isn't this just another version of the power of positive thought? And to that I say emphatically no. This is not mere positive thinking. This is not about trying to convince yourself that something good might happen. This is about knowing with absolute certainty that what you desire is already yours. You see, in the realm of imagination, there is no future. There is only the eternal now. When you enter into the silence of your imagination and experience your desire as fulfilled, you are not hoping for a future event. You are experiencing a present reality. And it is this present experience, this living from the end, that has the power to reshape your world. Let me explain further. The world you see around you, the circumstances of your life, are nothing more than the outpicturing of your estates. Your consciousness is the only reality. Everything else, your job, your relationships, your financial situation, these are all shadows, reflections of what you hold to be true in your imagination. So when you enter into the silence and live from the end, experiencing your desire as fulfilled, you are quite literally changing your world from the inside out. You are impressing upon the subconscious mind a new concept of self, a new pattern of thinking and being. And your subconscious mind, which knows no difference between what is vividly imagined and what is actually experienced in the outer world, begins to work tirelessly to bring about the conditions that match this new self-concept. This, my dear friends, is why silence is so powerful. In silence, you are free from the limitations of your current circumstances. In silence, you are free from the doubts and fears that may plague your waking mind. In silence, you are free to be, to experience, to live as the person who has already achieved their heart's desire. But let me be clear, this silence, this living from the end, is not a one-time event. It's not something you do once and then sit back and wait for results. No, it is a state of being that you must return to again and again until it becomes your natural way of existing in the world. Think of it like this. If you were to plant a seed and then immediately after see if it had grown, what would happen? The seed would never have the chance to take root, to sprout, to grow into the magnificent plant it was meant to be. In the same way, if you enter into the silence, experience your desires fulfilled, and then immediately return to your old patterns of thinking and speaking, constantly checking to see if your desire has manifested, you rob it of the very energy it needs to come into being. Instead, you must trust in the process. You must have faith in the power of your imagination. You must know with every fiber of your being that what you have experienced in the silence of your imagination is more real, more true than anything you can see or touch in the outer world. This brings us to another crucial aspect of being silent, letting go. Once you have planted the seed of your desire in the fertile soil of your imagination, once you have lived from the end and experienced it as fulfilled, you must let it go. Release it into the hands of the universe, trusting that the same power that turns an acorn into an oak tree, that turns a caterpillar into a butterfly, will bring your desire into manifestation. This letting go is not about forgetting your desire or no longer wanting it. It's about releasing the anxiety, the doubt, the need to control how and when it will come about. It's about surrendering to the wisdom of the universe, knowing that it has infinite ways of bringing about what you desire, ways that your limited human mind could never conceive of. Remember, the universe is not constrained by what you consider possible or probable. It operates according to laws that transcend human understanding. Your job is not to figure out how your desire will manifest. Your job is simply to live from the end, to be the person who already has what they desire, and to trust in the perfect unfolding of divine timing. Now, some of you might be wondering, but Neville, what if I have multiple desires? What if there are many things I want to manifest in my life? And to that I say, wonderful. The creative power within you is limitless. It is not constrained by time or space or the number of desires you hold in your heart. However, I would caution you against trying to focus on too many things at once. Remember, the power lies in your ability to live from the end, to fully embody the feeling of your desire fulfilled. This becomes more challenging when you're juggling multiple desires. Instead, I suggest you focus on one primary desire at a time. Choose the one that, if fulfilled, would have the greatest positive impact on your life. Then enter into the silence and live from the end of that desire fulfilled. As you do this, you may find that many of your other desires naturally fall into place. For when you change your concept of self at a fundamental level, every aspect of your life begins to shift to align with this new self-concept. Let's delve deeper into this concept of living from the end. What does it really mean to live after your desire is already fulfilled? It means assuming the feeling, the state of consciousness of the person who already has what you desire. If your desire is for financial abundance, then in the silence of your imagination, feel the peace and security that comes with having more than enough. Feel the joy of being able to buy what you want when you want. Feel the satisfaction of being able to help others, to give generously. Embody these feelings so completely that when you open your eyes and return to your chant, if your desire is for a loving relationship, then in your imagination, feel the warmth of your partner's embrace. Feel the joy of shared laughter, the comfort of deep understanding. Feel the satisfaction of giving and receiving love freely and fully. Let these feelings permeate your being so completely that you carry the energy of love with you wherever you go. If your desire is for a successful career, then in your inner world, feel the pride of achievement. Feel the satisfaction of doing work you love. Feel the respect and admiration of your colleagues. Embody these feelings so thoroughly that you begin to carry yourself with the confidence and poise of someone who is already successful. The key here is feeling. Your feelings are the secret to your power. They are the language of the subconscious mind, the fuel that powers your manifestations. When you can genuinely feel as though your desire is fulfilled, when you can maintain that feeling regardless of your outer circumstances, you have mastered the art of creation. Now I can hear some of you thinking, but Neville, this sounds like self-deception. Aren't we just fooling ourselves? And to that I say emphatically no. You are not deceiving yourself. You are aligning yourself with a higher truth, a deeper reality. You see, my dear friends, time is an illusion. The future you desire already exists in the infinite now of imagination. When you enter into the silence and live from the end, you are not creating something new. You are simply choosing to experience a reality that already exists. Think of it like this. I imagine you are in a dark room and there's a light switch on the wall. The electricity, the potential for light is already there. It exists whether the switch is on or off. When you flip the switch, you're not creating the light. You're simply choosing to experience it. In the same way, when you live from the end in your imagination, you're not creating your desire. You're choosing to experience it, to align yourself with it. This is why being silent is so crucial. When you constantly talk about what you want, when you focus on the lack of it in your life, you're essentially keeping the light switch off. You're choosing to experience the reality of not having. But when you go into the silence, when you live from the end and feel the joy of your desire fulfilled, you're flipping that switch. You're choosing to experience the reality where your desire is already manifest. Now I want to address something that many of you may be struggling with. You might be thinking, but Neville, I've tried this. I've imagined my desire fulfilled. I've tried to feel it real, but nothing has changed. What am I doing wrong? My dear friends, if this is you, I want you to know that you're not alone. Many people struggle with this at first. The key lies in persistence and in truly understanding what it means to live from the fan. You see, living from the end is not about visualizing your desire for a few minutes each day and then returning to your old patterns of thinking and being. It's about a fundamental shift in your self-concept. It's about becoming, in your imagination and in your feeling, the person who already has what you desire. This takes practice, it's dedication. It takes a willingness to challenge your old beliefs and patterns of thinking. But most of all, it takes faith. Faith not in some external power, but in the creative power of your own imagination. Remember, your imagination is not separate from reality. It is the very substance of reality. The world you see around you was once only imagined. Every invention, every work of art, every human achievement began as a seed in someone's imagination. Your desires are no different. They are the seeds of your future reality, waiting to be planted in the fertile soil of your imagination and nurtured in the silence of your being. So if you've been struggling, I urge you not to give up. Return to the silence. Go deeper into the feeling of your desire fulfilled. Make it more real, more vivid, more alive within you. And most importantly, persist. Persist in the face of every contrary appearance in your outer world. For it is your persistence, your unwavering faith in the reality of your amadat that will ultimately bring it into manifestation. Now let's talk about another crucial aspect of this process, detachment. When I say be silent, anything that you wish will happen, the silence I'm referring to also includes a detachment from the how and when of your manifestation. You see, many people make the mistake of trying to control every aspect of their manifestation. They imagine their desire fulfilled, but then they start worrying about how it will come about. They start trying to manipulate people and circumstances to bring about their desire. But this is a form of doubt. It's a lack of faith in the power of your imaginal act. True silence, true faith means letting go of the need to control. It means trusting that the same intelligence that keeps your heart beating, that grows your hair and nails, that maintains the perfect balance of life on this planet, is more than capable of bringing your desire into manifestation in the perfect way and at the perfect time. This detachment is not indifference. It's not about not caring whether your desire manifests or not. Rather, it's about being so certain of its manifestation that you no longer feel the need to manipulate or control. It's about resting in the absolute knowing that what you have experienced in your imagination is more real than anything in your outer world, and that your outer world must by law conform to this inner reality. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Imagine you've ordered a package online. Once you've placed the order, do you sit by your mailbox day and night, worrying about whether the package will arrive? Do you call the shipping company every hour to check on its status? Of course not. You trust that the package is on its way. You go about your life knowing that it will arrive at the perfect time. This is the kind of detachment I'm talking about. Once you've placed your order with the universe by living from the end in your imagination, let it be done. Trust that it's on its way. Go about your life from the state of consciousness of someone who already has what they desire. Now, this doesn't mean you become passive. You still take inspired action when it presents itself. But this action comes from a place of being, not from a place of lack or need. It's the natural expression of the new you, the you that is living from the end. Let's delve deeper into this concept of inspired action. When you're truly living from the end, when you fully embody the state of consciousness of having your desire fulfilled, you'll find that opportunities and inspirations naturally come to you. These are not actions you force or plan. They arise spontaneously from your new state of being. For instance, if you're living from the end of being financially abundant, you might suddenly feel inspired to start a new business venture. If you're living from the end of being in a loving relationship, you might feel moved to join a new social group where you'll meet like-minded people. These inspirations are your new state of consciousness expressing itself in your outer world. The key is to follow these inspirations without attachment to the outcome. You're not taking these actions to make your desire happen. You're taking them because they're the natural expression of who you now are in your imagination. This brings us to another important point, the role of action in this process. Some people misunderstand the principle of living from the end and think it means they should do nothing in their outer world. They believe that if they just imagine enough, their desire will magically appear without any effort on their part. But this is not what living from the end means. Living from the end doesn't negate action, it informs action. When you're truly living from the end, your actions naturally align with your desired state. You begin to act like the person who already has what you desire. If you're living from the end of being a successful author, for example, if you'll sit around waiting for a book to magically appear with your name, you write, you edit, you submit your work to publishers, but you do all of this from the state of consciousness of already being a successful author. You're not writing to become an author, you're writing because you are an author. This subtle shift in consciousness makes all the difference. It takes the struggle out of your actions. It aligns you with opportunities that support your new state of being. It allows you to act with confidence and certainty, knowing that you're not working towards your desire, but from your desire already fulfilled. Now, I want to address something that many of you may be grappling with. You might be thinking, but Neville, what about the evidence of my senses? How can I live from the end when everything in my outer world tells me that my desire is not yet fulfilled? This, my dear friends, is where faith comes in. Not blind faith, not wishful thinking, not faith, but faith based on understanding. Understanding that your senses show you the world that was, not the world that is becoming. Understanding that your imagination is the true substance of reality, and that what you see in your outer world is simply the shadow cast by your inner states. Your senses are wonderful servants, but they make poor masters. They can only show you what has been, what has already manifested. But your imagination shows you what can be, what is in the process of becoming. When you live from the end, when you experience your desire as fulfilled in your imagination, you are seeing with the eye of faith. You are perceiving a reality that your physical senses cannot yet detect, but which is nonetheless real and in the process of manifesting. This is why silence is so crucial. In the silence of your imagination, you are free from the limitations imposed by your senses. You are free to experience your desire as fulfilled, regardless of what your outer world is showing you. But make no mistake, this is not about denying your current reality or pretending that things are different than they are. It's about understanding that your current reality is the result of past thoughts and beliefs, and that by changing your inner state, you set in motion the forces that will change your outer world. Think of it like this. Your outer world is like a mirror, reflecting back to you your innermost thoughts and beliefs. When you change what's being reflected, your inner state, the reflection must change. It has no choice. This is law. So when your senses tell you that your desire is not yet fulfilled, don't argue with them. Don't try to convince yourself that what you're seeing isn't real. Instead, thank your senses for showing you what has been, and then return to the silence of your imagination where you can experience what will be. This is the true meaning of faith. It's not about believing despite evidence to the contrary. It's about knowing that the evidence of your imagination is more real, more substantial than anything your physical senses can show you. Now let's talk about something that many of you may be struggling with. the concept of time in relation to your manifestations. When I say be silent, anything that you wish will happen, many of you might be wondering, but when will it happen? How long do I have to wait? My dear friends, these questions, while natural, come from a misunderstanding of the nature of time and manifestation. You see, in the realm of imagination, there is no time. There is only the eternal now. When you truly live from the end, when you fully embody the state of your desire fulfilled, you're not waiting for anything to happen. It has already happened in the only place it ever could happen, in your consciousness. The appearance of your desire in your outer world is not the manifestation. It's merely the shadow, the outer reflection of what has already occurred within you. The true manifestation, the real creation, happens the moment you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and believe in its reality. From this perspective, there is no waiting. There is only being. Being the person who already has what you desire. Living from that state of consciousness. Allowing your outer world to catch up with your inner knowing. This is why patience is so important in this process. Not the kind of patience that comes from gritting your teeth and enduring until something happens, but the patience that comes from absolute knowing. The kind of patience you have when you've planted a seed. You don't stand over it, demanding that it grow faster. You trust in the natural process of growth, knowing that in its own perfect timing, the seed will sprout and grow into a magnificent plant. Your desires are like that seed. Once planted in the fertile soil of your imagination and nurtured with the feeling of their fulfillment, they will manifest in your outer world in their own perfect timing. Your job is not to make them grow faster, but to maintain the state of consciousness of already having them. This brings us to another important point, the concept of revision. Sometimes, despite our best efforts to live from the end, we find ourselves slipping back into old patterns of thinking and being. We might have moments of doubt, or we might react to our current circumstances in ways that contradict our desired state. When this happens, it's crucial not to blame yourself or to see it as a failure. Instead, use the power of revision. At the end of each day, review the events of your day in your imagination. If there were any moments where you reacted from a state of lack or limitation, revise them. See yourself responding from the state of your wish fulfilled. Feel how you would have felt, thought how you would have thought, if your desire was already manifest. This practice of revision serves two purposes. First, it reinforces your desired state of consciousness, helping you to more consistently live from the instinct. Second, it literally rewrites your subconscious memories. Remember, your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience. By revising your day in your imagination, you're literally changing your past, and in doing so, changing the trajectory of future. Now, I want to address something that many of you may be concerned about. You might be thinking, but Neville, isn't this selfish? Shouldn't I be focusing on helping others rather than manifesting my own desires? My dear friends, this is a common misconception, but it couldn't be further from the truth. You see, when you live from the end, when you embody the state of consciousness of your desire fulfilled, you become more, not less. You expand your capacity to give, to love, to serve. Think about it. If your desire is for financial abundance and you successfully manifest that abundance, aren't you in a better position to help others? If your desire is for radiant health and you manifest that health, aren't you better able to care for those around you? If your desire is for a fulfilling relationship and you manifest that relationship, don't you have more love to share with the world? You see, manifesting your desires is not about greed or selfishness. It's about becoming the fullest, most expanded version of yourself. It's about aligning yourself with the abundance of the universe so that you can be a channel for that abundance to flow to others. Moreover, when you master this principle of living from the end, you gain the ability to help others in profound ways. You can teach them this principle, showing them how to transform their own lives. You become a living example of what's possible when one aligns themselves with the creative power of their imagination. So never feel guilty about focusing on your desires. Your desires are not random. They are the universe speaking to you, showing you the direction of your growth and expansion. By fulfilling your desires, you are fulfilling your purpose, becoming more of who you truly are. And in doing so, you naturally uplift those around you. Now, as we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a challenge. For the next 30 days, I want you to commit to living from the end of your most cherished desire. Choose one desire, the one that resonates most deeply with you, and for the next 30 days, live as though it were already fulfilled. Each night before you go to sleep, enter into the silence of your imagination. See yourself in the scenario of your desire fulfilled. Feel the feelings you would feel if your desire were already manifest. Experience it with all your senses. Make it as real and as vivid as you possibly can. Then carry that feeling with you throughout your day. No matter what your outer circumstances show you, maintain the inner knowing that your desire is already yours. Be silent about it. Don't speak of it as something you want or need. Live from the state of already having it. If you find yourself slipping back into old patterns of thinking or being, don't berate yourself. Simply revise those moments in your imagination. See yourself responding from the state of a wish fulfilled. At the end of these 30 days, you will be amazed at the changes that have occurred, not just in your outer world, but in your inner world as well. You will have developed a new habit of consciousness, a new way of being in the world. Remember, my dear friends, you are not bound by your past or by your current circumstances. You are bound only by your imagination and your willingness to live from the state of your wish fulfilled. The power to change your life, to manifest your heart's desires, lies within you. It always has, and it always will.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that the power to transform your mind and consequently your life lies within you. It has always been there, waiting to be awakened and harnessed. Let us begin by understanding what it means to be mentally strong. It is not merely the absence of weakness or the ability to endure hardship. No, mental strength is far more profound. It is the capacity to shape your reality through the power of your imagination and belief. It is the unwavering faith in the law that states, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is it. You see, my dear friends, the world you experience is nothing more than an outward projection of your inner state. Your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions create the fabric of your reality. Therefore, to become mentally strong is to gain mastery over your inner world, to cultivate a mind that is aligned with your deepest desires and highest aspirations. Now you might be wondering, how do I achieve this mental strength? The answer, I assure you, is simpler than you might think. Yet it requires dedication and practice. The first step is to recognize the immense power of your imagination. Your imagination is not some frivolous faculty meant for idle daydreaming. It is the very workshop where you forge your destiny. Neville Goddard once said, man's imagination is God's redemptive power in man. This statement encapsulates a profound truth that your imagination is the key to transforming your life. When you learn to use your imagination deliberately and consistently, you tap into a power that can move mountains, part seas, and reshape your entire existence. But how does one use imagination effectively? The secret lies in what I call living in the end. This means that you must imagine and feel the reality of your desire as if it were already accomplished. You must step into the state of the wish fulfilled, embodying the thoughts, feelings, and beliefs of the person who has already achieved what you desire. Let me give you an example. Suppose you wish to become more confident and assertive. Instead of focusing on your current state of timidity or self-doubt, you would imagine yourself as the confident and assertive person you wish to be. You would feel the satisfaction, the peace, and the certainty that comes with being that person. You would walk, talk, and carry yourself as if you were already the embodiment of confidence and assertiveness. This practice of living in the end is not mere positive thinking or affirmation. It is a profound psychological and spiritual exercise that aligns your entire being with your desired state. As you persist in this practice, you will find that your outer world begins to conform to your inner vision. This is the law of assumption at work. What you assume to be true becomes true in your experience. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, how can I imagine something that seems so far from my current reality? This is where mental strength truly comes into play. It requires discipline and persistence to hold on to your vision in the face of contrary evidence. It demands that you trust in the unseen reality of your imagination more than the apparent facts of your physical senses. Remember, my friends, that what you see in the world around you is nothing more than the outpicturing of past thoughts and beliefs. It is the harvest of seeds planted in the past. But at this very moment, you have the power to plant new seeds, to imagine a new reality to being. This is the essence of mental strength. The ability to hold steadfast to your vision, regardless of present circumstances. Let us delve deeper into this concept. The world you see is Maya, illusion. It is a shadow play, a reflection of your consciousness. When you truly grasp this truth, you will understand that to change your world, you need only change your consciousness. This is where the practice of revision becomes invaluable. Revision is the art of reimagining past events in a way that aligns with your desires. If you have experienced failure or disappointment, instead of dwelling on these experiences and reinforcing them in your consciousness, you can revise them. Imagine how you would have preferred the situation to unfold. Feel the joy and satisfaction of this revised scenario as if it had actually happened. This practice of revision is not about denying reality or living in fantasy. It is about understanding the fluid nature of time and memory and using this understanding to your advantage. By revising the past in your imagination, you alter the trajectory of your future. You plant new seeds in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind, seeds that will inevitably sprout and bear fruit in your experience. As you engage in these practices, living in the end and revision, you will begin to notice a shift in your mental state. You will find yourself becoming more resilient, more optimistic, more certain of your power to shape your reality. This is mental strength in action. It is the ability to maintain a positive and purposeful state of mind, regardless of external circumstances. But let me be clear, my dear friends. Mental strength is not about forcing things to happen through sheer willpower. It is not about struggling against the current of life. Rather, it is about aligning yourself with the natural flow of creation. It is about understanding and applying the laws that govern the universe. One of these fundamental laws is the law of assumption. This law states that whatever you assume to be true will be manifested in your reality. Your assumptions, whether conscious or unconscious, shape your world. Therefore, to become mentally strong, you must become aware of your assumptions and learn to consciously choose those that serve your highest good. For instance, if you assume that life is a struggle and that success is hard to come by, you will experience a reality that confirms these assumptions. On the other hand, if you assume that life is abundant and that success comes easily to you, your experience will reflect these beliefs. The key is to become aware of your assumptions and to deliberately choose those that align with your desires. This process of becoming aware of it, changing your assumptions, requires mental discipline. It demands that you become the watchman at the gate of your mind, carefully monitoring the thoughts and beliefs you allow to take root in your consciousness. This vigilance is a hallmark of mental strength. Now, you might be wondering, how do I change deeply ingrained assumptions and beliefs? The answer lies in the practice of what I call the law of reversibility. This law states that while feelings follow thoughts, thoughts also follow feelings. In other words, by deliberately inducing the feeling state associated with your desire, you can evoke thoughts and assumptions that align with that state. Let me explain this further. Suppose you want to cultivate an assumption of abundance. Instead of trying to force yourself to think abundant thoughts, you would induce the feeling of abundance. You would imagine what it feels like to be abundantly supplied in all areas of your life. As you persist in this feeling, you will find that thoughts of lack and scarcity naturally fall away, replaced by thoughts and assumptions of abundance. This practice of inducing feeling states is a powerful tool for mental strength. It allows you to bypass the resistance of your rational mind and directly influence your subconscious, where your deepest beliefs and assumptions reside. As you master this technique, you will find yourself becoming more adept at shaping your mental state at will. But remember, my friends, mental strength is not about suppressing or denying negative emotions. It is about understanding the transient nature of all emotional states and learning to navigate them skillfully. When challenging emotions arise, acknowledge them, but do not identify with them. See them as passing clouds in the vast sky of your consciousness. This ability to observe your emotions without being consumed by them is a crucial aspect of mental strength. It allows you to maintain your chosen state of consciousness even in the face of adversity. It enables you to respond to life's challenges from a place of clarity and purpose rather than reacting from a place of fear or anger. As you cultivate this observational stance, you will begin to notice the gap between stimulus and response. In this gap lies your power to choose your reaction. This is where true freedom resides. As you become more aware of this gap, you will find yourself becoming less reactive and more responsive to life's events. Now, let us discuss another vital aspect of mental strength, the power of your self-talk. The conversations you have with yourself shape your reality in profound ways. Therefore, to become mentally strong, you must become acutely aware of your inner dialogue and learn to direct it consciously. Many people unconsciously engage in negative self-talk, constantly criticizing themselves and reinforcing limiting beliefs. This negative self-talk is like a poison that corrupts your mental and emotional state. To counteract this, you must learn to speak to yourself with kindness and encouragement. But it's not enough to simply replace negative self-talk with positive affirmations. You must go deeper. You must speak to yourself from the perspective of your ideal self, the version of you that has already achieved what you desire. This is not about deceiving yourself, but about aligning your inner dialogue with your highest vision for yourself. For instance, instead of saying, "I hope I can become more confident," you would say, "I am confident and self-assured in all situations." Instead of saying, "I'll try to be more successful," you would say, "I am successful in all my endeavors." This shift in language might seem subtle, but its effects are profound. It aligns your conscious mind with your subconscious, creating a powerful synergy that propels you towards your goals. Remember, my dear friends, the words you speak to yourself are like seeds planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. Choose these words carefully, for they will grow and bear fruit in your experience. This conscious use of language is a hallmark of mental strength. Now let us delve into another crucial aspect of mental strength, the power of focus. Your ability to direct and sustain your attention is a key determinant of your mental state and, consequently, your life experience. In a world filled with distractions, the capacity to focus your mind is more valuable than ever. But what should you focus on? The answer is simple yet profound. Focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. This might seem obvious, but many people spend their mental energy dwelling on their problems, fears, and limitations. They focus on what's wrong in their lives rather than on what they wish to create. Remember, my friends, energy flows where attention goes. Whatever you consistently focus on will expand in your experience. Therefore, to become mentally strong, you must train your mind to dwell on your desired outcomes, on the life you wish to create, on the person you aspire to be. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or challenges when they arise. It means approaching them from a solution-oriented mindset. Instead of fixating on the problem, focus your attention on finding a solution. Ask yourself empowering questions like, how can I turn this situation to my advantage? Or what opportunity for growth does this challenge present? As you cultivate this habit of focused attention, you will find your mental strength growing. You will become less reactive to external circumstances and more proactive in shaping your reality. You will develop a sense of inner calm and certainty that allows you to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and poise. Now, let us discuss another vital aspect of mental strength, the power of persistence. The ability to persist in your chosen course of action despite obstacles and setbacks is a hallmark of a strong mind. It is easy to maintain a positive mental state when things are going well. The true test of mental strength comes when you face adversity. Persistence doesn't mean stubbornly pushing against immovable obstacles. It means maintaining your faith in your vision even when the external evidence seems to contradict it. It means holding fast to your assumption of success even when temporary failures occur. It means continuing to live in the end, to feel the reality of your desire, even when your current circumstances seem far removed from your goal. Remember, my dear friends, that manifestation is not always instantaneous. There's often a time lag between the conception of a desire in your imagination and its appearance in your physical reality. This time lag is a test of your faith and persistence. Those who can maintain their chosen state of consciousness, regardless of external circumstances, are the ones who ultimately succeed in bringing their desires into manifestation. Think of it this way. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't dig it up every day to check its progress. You trust in the natural process of growth. You continue to water and nurture the soil, knowing that in due time the seed will sprout and grow into a plant. The same principle applies to the seeds of your desires, planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. Your job is to continue nurturing these seeds through your imagination and feeling. Trust in the law, knowing that what you have planted must inevitably come to fruition. This unwavering faith, this persistent holding to your vision, is a powerful demonstration of mental strength. Now, let us explore another crucial aspect of mental strength: the power of detachment. This might seem paradoxical at first. How can detachment contribute to mental strength? Isn't it important to be passionate and committed to our goals? The truth is, detachment is not about lack of desire or commitment. It's about releasing the anxiety and desperation that often accompany intense wanting. When you are overly attached to a specific outcome, you create resistance. You become tense and fearful, constantly worrying about whether or not your desire will manifest. True mental strength comes from a place of calm certainty. It's the ability to desire something deeply, to work towards it consistently, while simultaneously trusting in the perfect unfolding of events. It's knowing that whether or not a particular desire manifests, you are whole and complete as you are. This state of detachment allows you to remain centered and balanced, regardless of external circumstances. It enables you to enjoy the journey, rather than fixating solely on the destination. It frees you from the emotional roller coaster of elation and despair that comes with attachment to outcomes. To cultivate this detachment, practice surrendering your desires to your higher self, to the divine within you. After you have done your part, living in the end, feeling the reality of your desire, trust that the infinite intelligence of the universe will bring about the best possible outcome, in the best possible way, at the best possible time. This surrender is not passive resignation. It is active trust. It is the recognition that while you have the power to shape your reality through your imagination and assumption, the exact manner and timing of manifestation is not always under your conscious control. This balance of active creation and surrender is a hallmark of true mental strength. Now, my dear friends, let us discuss another vital aspect of mental strength: the power of self-discipline. Self-discipline is the ability to control your thoughts, emotions, and actions in service of your higher goals. It is the bridge between your intentions and your results. Many people mistakenly believe that self-discipline is about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. But true self-discipline comes from a deep alignment with your highest vision for yourself. When you are clear about what you truly want, when you can feel the reality of your desire, self-discipline becomes natural and effortless. For instance, if you truly embody the state of being a successful and productive person, you will naturally engage in behaviors that support this state. You won't need to force yourself to work hard or to manage your time effectively. These behaviors will flow naturally from your assumed state of being. This is why the practice of living in the end is so powerful. By consistently assuming the state of your wish fulfilled, you naturally align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with that state. This alignment is the essence of self-discipline. However, this doesn't mean that you won't face challenges or moments of weakness. Mental strength is not about never experiencing doubt or fear. It's about how you respond to these experiences when they arise. It's about your ability to return to your chosen state of consciousness, even after temporary lapses. This is where the practice of revision becomes invaluable. If you find yourself slipping into old patterns of thought or behavior, don't berate yourself. Instead, revise the experience of your imagination. See yourself responding in a way that aligns with your highest vision for yourself. Feel the satisfaction and pride of having demonstrated self-discipline and mental strength. As you persist in this practice, you will find your capacity for self-discipline growing. You will become more consistent in your thoughts, emotions, and actions. This consistency is a powerful manifestation of mental strength. Now let us explore another crucial aspect of mental strength: the power of gratitude. Gratitude is not merely a polite social convention. It is a powerful state of consciousness that can transform your entire life experience. When you cultivate an attitude of gratitude, you align yourself with the abundance of the universe. You shift your focus from what you lack to what you already have. This shift in focus changes your entire vibration, making you a magnet for more positive experiences. But gratitude is not just about being thankful for the good things in your life. True mental strength comes from the ability to find something to be grateful for in every situation, even those that appear challenging or unpleasant on the surface. Remember, my friends, every experience, every circumstance contains within it the seed of an equivalent greater benefit. When you can maintain an attitude of gratitude, even in the face of apparent adversity, you demonstrate true mental strength. Moreover, gratitude is a powerful antidote to fear and anxiety. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you cannot simultaneously focus on what you fear. This is why the practice of gratitude is so effective in building mental resilience. I encourage you to make gratitude a daily practice. Each day, take time to reflect on the things you're grateful for. Feel the emotion of gratitude deeply. Let it permeate your entire being. As you do this consistently, you will find your mental state becoming more positive and resilient. Now, let us discuss another vital aspect of mental strength: the power of forgiveness. Many people carry the weight of past hurts and resentments, not realizing how much these negative emotions drain their mental and emotional energy.